supposed to knock your head. Yeah.
Mandatory.
Yeah. You don't have to be mute, Wed.
Whatever.
Wed Netherly.
Our first real athlete today, Verso.
A real athlete.
Yeah.
Our
first athlete.
Old spinny throw. I don't know that. Look, to be fair, he's actually a really old sport. I don't know if you know that.
It is?
Yeah, it's been around a while.
What's that?
The old hammer throw, wasn't it?
Yes. It's originated from the Highland Games, from the Scottish people.
Really?
Yes. So
Where did it start though? Like, is it actually a thing that used to be mad murders and stuff? Like where they used to throw something over a castle wall or something? Like, what's the idea behind it?
I've got no idea about that, but I think that the earliest region you can kind of like bring it back to is like Scottish Highland Games, kind of like medieval times. So it was basically just throwing rocks and throwing stuff over bars, and whoever was like the biggest guy.
This is a terrible intro. Let's actually go with who we're speaking to. We've just run into
Jump straight in.
medieval throwing stuff over rules and doing whatever.
Well, we're here today with Wed Netherly, our champion hammer thrower. And so you've been in the sport quite a long time, since about the age of 13. Mm-hmm. You've been an Australian junior champion. You've represented Australia at the Youth Olympic Games in China. You've competed in Colombia and over in Poland as well. And then also moving into your senior career, you've been an Oceania medalist and gold medalist at the Australian Open. So quite a long history. What do we call it? Is it athletics or is it track and field, or what do you refer to the events as?
I think it's track and field's a bit more of an American thing because in America, athletics is kind of just a way of referring to sport. So, But it's athletics here. So I think we'll just go with athletics. I think that's what everyone in Australia knows it as. But shout out to any podcast listener in the US, we'll call it track and field for them.
I think we do have one listener.
Really?
It might be a VPN.
VPN,
but
right.
who knows?
Yeah,
we'll just take it that they might be American.
Point specifically, like where?
Yeah. It's actually 13 Orange Drive in Utah. No, I just made that up. I hope that's not a real address. I hope that one person doesn't actually live there.
Dox some like 75-year-old lady. So.
Yeah, that's actually where El Nino lives.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
righto.
I don't know if you remember that debacle.
No,
the El Nino stuff?
No, I'll just play along with it.
Mate, there was, you know how everyone says like La Nina and El Nino cause like the bushfires and the flooding?
Yeah.
So over in America, they actually, you were given like, there's a bloke called El Nino and they were giving him bulk death threats. It's just, so I don't want to.
Poor guy.
Yeah, so that Utah person, sorry about that.
Yeah. Well,
so I've got here, it says here the history. Legend traces the concept of the hammer throw to approximately 2000 BC. That's assuming you believe in Jeebus.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to say this word, Tailteann Games in Tara, Ireland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's Tailteann.
Yep.
I don't know how you'd say that.
No.
Anyone? No one looks confident to try and say that word. Where the Celtic warrior, oh God, here we go again. I'm absolutely butchering these.
You're ad-libbing here, right?
No, I'm not ad-libbing. I'm just trying to read this word that I clearly am not going to get it right. Culchulian. Culchulainn.
Probably like in Gaelic, which is like unpronounceable.
Yeah, if I went like, "Hey, Culchulian," they'd be like, "Yeah, that's exactly how you say it." So it was gripped by a chariot wheel by its axle, whirled around his head, and threw it a huge distance.
Wow.
Yeah, so it turns out you were throwing chariot wheels by the axle.
Yeah, really?
Well, that's actually impressive.
2000 BC, I'm not sure what sort of steel works, like what form a hammer would have been able to be made into.
But is that Iron Age? Let's not show how
simple we are.
Yeah, let's rein in
history lesson.
How special.
History.
You know what I didn't do? I didn't do this thing.
A little time.
So I've got a little bit of extra time.
To be fair, I've got no idea. It started at 4 minutes 21.
Well, when I'm looking at that, I'm thinking of like do you guys watch Hey It's Saturday when?
Oh yeah,
like when the gong came out.
Yeah,
it's just like if I keep talking.
I actually watched it at the time though. You would have watched reruns.
Yeah, I watched it when it was like they did like 2 special episodes in like 2009 when I was like 11 years old. So it was cool then, but yeah,
mate,
I learned about red and what
Dickie Knee, aggro. Do you remember? Have you heard aggro?
No, I know about the chicken though.
Do you know aggro?
I know aggro.
The chicken.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a chicken on Hey Hey?
Hey It's Saturday, yeah. No, aggro was a different show.
Oh, big.
There was Dickie Knee, aggro.
Show.
Like neither of them were real people, whatever. Yeah. No, Pluck a Duck is what you're thinking
Pluck a
of.
Duck, that's right.
That was, mate, there was some good times back. Don't forget your toothbrush.
No, don't.
Don't you? Oh, Tim Ferguson, mate. Yeah. That's Jared Goundry's, mate.
Mentor.
But, yeah, mate, there's some shows that were amazing back in the day that you just wouldn't have anymore.
Yeah, I know.
So how would...
Anyway, hammer throw.
So hammer throw, how would it have migrated to sort of the Olympic sports? Are there any others that had that sort of Gallic Games origin that you know of?
I don't think so. I know
the caber toss didn't make it into the Olympics.
No, I wish it did. That'd be making for an exciting Olympic Games. But if they want to include it, that'd be sick because it might give me a chance to actually go to the Olympics.
Strongman's got a lot to do with
strongman.
Yeah.
Like
they've got a lot of that sort of stuff going on.
Yeah.
That's very Highland.
But I know in terms of like ancient kind of like if we're really tracing it back to the history, I know the discus came like that's like ancient Greek times.
I'm going to fact check you. Ancient Greek, you reckon?
I reckon. I believe so.
Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe so.
Well, Olympia was a place in Greece.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Is that where the origins of it started?
Yes. I believe, and I like the Athens Games. I believe. I don't know if you've ever seen any kind of typical thing of like the Athens Olympics. They always show this guy called Discobolus. And he's like some guy holding this big plate in his hand. So that had some origins to, I believe, ancient Greece, ancient Rome. I might get fact checked here, but it is what it is. But and then I know that I believe shot put came from cannonballs. Like that's like kind of like the design.
It was
of
a shot.
The shot.
Yeah.
In the shot put came from cannonballs and then kind of progressed from there. This is just what I was told.
And they probably all had origins with, like the strength things that would have made good warriors and that sort of good hunters. It was probably all those sort of sporting evolutions of real skills.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a bit of a. I'm hard pressed to describe myself as a as a warrior or a hunter, but I think there's some that have to be some kind of origin to kind of strong man and that kind of.
A little bit of discus stuff here.
Yeah.
The Greek poet Homer made reference to the event in Iliad's description of the funeral games at around 800 BC.
There you go.
So I wonder if hammer throw is actually older.
Yeah, well, it must be.
I don't know.
They couldn't shape a discus 2,000 years BC.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
They got better.
Shape an axle wheel, but not a discus.
Well, some people didn't invent the wheel. So.
Wow.
Yeah, we got the enduring image of the Greek discus thrower comes from an iconic 5th century BC statue. So there was a sculpture in the 5th century BC.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Okay.
It's funny, like you're doing all that research, you've just pulled that up in like the last 5 minutes. I've been doing this sport for, near on 14 years and I never actually researched it.
I don't know. It's one of those things you need to know before you spin around and throw something.
Well, I guess not, but
it's cool though.
I was quite passionate about, I still am quite passionate about the sport, but as a younger kid, it was a bit of an obsession. So I never actually really looked into it. I could tell you just about every Olympic game winner from, I'm not going to go that far.
I was going to say, you want me to go through? I'll fact check you.
So what's, we all get drawn to different sports growing up. And so did you generally get into athletics or how did you end up sort of trying the hammer throw?
Yeah.
And picking that one?
Yeah, funny story. Like I always describe myself when I talk about athletics, I always describe myself as like the fat little kid in primary school. And like I give the analogy like, the fat kid in primary school, like it was like the worst day ever. Any sports day was like the worst day ever for them, except for when shot put came up and they just demolished the shot put because it was like a little, if you're a kid in primary school, like a 2 kilo shot put and you probably got like 60, 70 kilos behind you, it's going to go far. So yeah, I think.
What age were you at 60, 70 kilos?
Pardon?
What age were you at that?
At 60, 70 kilos, I think probably 11. I was always a big kid. Like I'm not a big kid anymore, but like I was always the heaviest and also like the tallest in every year in like primary school.
Yeah.
And then like I'm like the typical person who was like head and shoulders above everyone in grade 6 and then like
peaked in high school.
Well, like that's the joke that everyone says like, oh, that person that peaked in high school. No, I peaked in primary school. No. But I so look, I did play footy and I played basketball. I played cricket. I did everything that was kind of typical of a young Australian kid. I was okay at them. Like footy, it was probably my better sport out of any of them in terms of team sport. But when I was in about...
You say footy, you mean like Aussie rules or like rugby?
Aussie rules football, so not NRL or rugby or soccer or anything like that. Aussie rules football, typical Victorian. But when I was 12, I think, they basically have like this kind of system with like...
hang on, say that again. back when you were 12. I've been slack on the sound effects. My bad.
Being really, I was hoping for more. Sound effects.
Like
but
you've,
anyway,
you've done. Oh, hey, no.
Oh,
You didn't even do it near the mic.
oh, sorry.
At
least-
fast crack though.
Wasn't it? And one hand. That was single hand.
Yeah.
Single hand savvy crack. Well played.
Shout out to Savvy. That's my first Savvy ever.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm feeling nootropics.
Yeah.
Shout
Okay.
out Mark Curry.
Well played. He's going to get his own code.
That wasn't a stage advert.
Thank you,
eh?
email. But,
Yeah. Type in Wed Netherly for 20% off.
this is my podcast.
That'll,
now.
that'll get you going before a hammer throw too.
Yes, well, but no. There's like a system with like school sports, like for primary school kids, where you go to your house sports. If you win there, you go to like your zone, and then you go to like your regional. You go to districts, which is like your first one. Then you go to zones, which is the next one. Then you go to the regional. And then you go to the state. So, like, the zone would be just like your local school. So, for me, kid growing up in Ocean Grove, it was like Ocean Grove, Barwon Heads, Leopold Primary School, I think. And then you moved on to like zone, which is like the kind of greater Geelong area. So, I went to the school sports for the shot put at the time. Won the zones. I won I won the districts. Then I won the zones. Then I went to regional, which was kind of like the whole western kind of area of Victoria. And I think you had to come top 2 there to go to the state championships. So I came second there to a bloke that was like a year older than me because, like high school, there's always there's those kids that are like a year behind. They like actually turned 13 in high school. Sorry, in primary school.
Yeah, like the older fat kid.
Yeah, correct. Well, this guy though, he was like a genuine man. Like he was like
he was shaving. He shaved twice during the event.
100%. He was like, I still remember him. I won't name him. I don't want to embarrass him or anything like that. I don't know if he does athletics anymore, but he was like,
Did he beat you?
Yeah, he beat
Well,
me.
then how are you embarrassing him? If you're the number one in Australia, you won't.
Now it's the story, but like he's still a primary school victory
okay.
over me. So
All right. Yeah. All right.
I don't hold on to things, but
All the guests we've had on here, Matt, we're trying to out bullies and stuff like that. But old SJ, she still won't tell us who this person was.
I want to know who it is.
I know. We've got a person who gave us 1 star on Spotify. We're looking for.
Really?
And I had one.
Just a vendetta podcast.
Yeah. We've got the 1 star. We've got SJ's author from back in the day, and now we've got the 1 year
Should be a new
above.
podcast name just called Letting Go.
I don't know. Any of us would be on that.
No, I definitely wouldn't because I hold on to everything. But no. So I came second at that regional competition. Then I went to the States and finished second there. Now this is where I got the victory over that young. That guy that was like 6'4" in grade 6 and was like had a full beard.
But was he actually 21 and he just hadn't passed grade 6 yet? He just kept failing, or
well, I don't know. I
like did he drive himself to the games? Like that's a heads up in grade 6 if they drive.
He was like from Mortlake, so I could imagine like he'd just like rock up in his tractor or something like that. But
true.
But no, because he was too old, because he was actually 13 at the time, he didn't get to go to the national championships. But because I came second, it was like the top 3 got to go to the national championship. But I got to go to the national championships for primary schools. So I got to go to the national. So I went to the national championships in the primary school championships and got to go to this like great place, as a young kid, like representing a state team. Because I always say this as a joke because there was a guy in my year at school that made the state team for AFL footy. And he now plays AFL, but he got to travel over to Perth and he got a plane trip and all of it was awesome. But so when I made the state team, I was like, oh yes, this is going to be awesome. I get to go on like on a plane, travel with all the team and everything. But I went to this great place called Bendigo for the national
That's your second
championship.
warning.
What was that?
Second warning, Wed.
What was that? Hitting the table?
Yep.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
I'll get you a pillow
gonna
on the
break this
third one.
table.
Third
No,
one,
I'm
you
on
get the McConnell pillow.
Shout out to McConnell Pillows. But yeah, got to go to the great place of Bendigo. Anyway, I don't want to dive too much into that. Got my first state tracksuit. It was like the best time ever. Like that was like the biggest confidence boost for me because I was a pretty insecure young kid, and I kind of being overweight, being like I was never really good at much. I wasn't good at primary school. I wasn't really a good student or anything like that. But I had one thing that I was like, okay, I'm good at this. So that was like a really big confidence boost for me. Anyway, story goes on. I came 6th there, I'm pretty sure, with no training whatsoever. This was just literally my dad, who like was like a footy coach. That's all he knew, just telling me to throw it harder and throw it faster.
Is there much more you need to do in the way of coaching with hammer throw?
Well, this was still shot put, was it?
Shot put though.
Yeah.
So
Spin faster, throw harder.
pretty much.
I don't remember ever seeing a hammer at like schools. It's probably a bit dangerous to just
correct.
have a crack at. That's more of an advanced skill.
Well, I think that's why it's banned from the schools. No, it's no, I couldn't imagine some 12.
if you let that go in the wrong direction,
Correct,
you take out
yeah.
all the referees.
Yeah,
and stuff.
correct. Well, most school training there, like when you did like your one PE class a year for shot put, it was like you threw it on the footy oval. But yeah, so Dad was coaching me at the time and was telling me to throw faster and harder, which is pretty good advice actually. But yeah, finished sixth. So I thought that was unreal. Like I couldn't believe it. Like and then my dad, who like really wanted to nurture this talent, he pushed me into going to find a coach. So I ended up finding a coach at my local track, and he kind of said, "Look, I coach everything. I coach shot put, discus, hammer throw, and javelin. Let's try all four." So I tried shot put. I was okay at that. Changed my technique. Actually learned how to do like the spin technique, and then started doing discus. So I was okay at that. Did javelin. I'll never throw a javelin again. Couldn't throw that to save my life.
Did you crack yourself in the back of the head?
Pardon?
Have you ever cracked yourself in the back of the head?
When it
javelin.
comes through.
Yes, you got to throw it, and instead of having it obviously straight,
Yeah.
it's because you start going to throw it, and then you just throw it sideways. You
'cause you
smack the
basically-
crack at the back of your head.
Because you wind up and you're trying to like throw it like a cricket
Yeah.
ball almost, and because it's
Yeah,
like
I've cracked
quite-
myself. I've smashed myself in the back. I'm like, that's me done. Not playing this game anymore.
Yeah.
Especially when it goes like 20 meters anyway. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's
exactly.
I can justify how much that's hurting right now.
Because like you kind of you think like with javelin, it's like like you see it, and it's very impressive. Like in terms of like we're talking like ancient sports, that's like throwing a spear as far as you can. Like seeing a good javelin throw is like unreal, and you just think it's going to be easy because like, oh, I'll throw a cricket ball 60 meters, but then you try and throw a javelin. And
Oh,
it goes
remember
like,
that dude that got nailed with the javelin? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
No.
At the Olympics, like some dude's like watching like the 400 or something, and he's out there, and he's obviously not aware that the javelin dude's going, and this dude launches it, amazing throw, right, and it nails old mate in the shoulder, and then he goes from where he is. You see him actually trying to work out the trajectory of where it was going to go because he's like, I've just ruined this guy's chance at a gold medal because it's like he's looking at a record or something.
2 meters short.
Yeah, and he's like pulled it out and he's like trying to work out where it was going to go. I love the guy's enthusiasm. He's like, oh, this is on me. This is my fault. Ignore the fact that he's got a 7-foot spear in the side of him, but it's terrible.
Well, it's actually interesting with javelin, like the world record so there's 2 world records in javelin. There's like the old model world record and the new model world record.
Oh, didn't they change?
Yeah, so this guy called Yue Hone, who was from East Germany at the time, threw the javelin 104.8 meters. So it's an 800-gram javelin. So it's
Definitely
like
a
close
clean
to a kilo.
athlete, though.
Pardon?
He definitely would have been a clean athlete.
Well, I won't comment on that.
Look, to
he
be
does live in
fair-
Melbourne now, this bloke. So
Oh, does he?
yeah. He's
We'll get him on now so we can have a crack at
he's-
Al for calling him out.
Yeah, well,
It was funny though because he was miles ahead of everybody else though, and they were just like, this bloke is no one's going to catch him, and then they literally changed the sport because of one dude.
yeah.
So what did they change?
So basically, they changed the weight didn't change of the javelin. So if you look it up, just look up world record javelin 100 meters, and it'll come up. And
I'll do
it. He's going to fact check me on this. It should come up. Basically, he threw, it was some competition, European Championships or maybe an international competition, and he literally throws it from the javelin runway on one side of the track and almost hits the high jump mats like on the other side of the track. And like this American commentator's just like, oh, the weight of the javelin will surely have to be changed. Well, they didn't change it. What they did is they moved the center of gravity of the javelin forward. So like the main part of the weight actually moved forward, so the javelin would dip earlier. Earlier.
How do you say old mate's name?
Pardon?
How do you say his name?
Yue Hone. So I think it's spelled like a U.
Yeah, it is. It's UWEHOHN.
Yeah.
East German. Threw a javelin at 104.8 meters. After that, the physique of the javelin was altered so that such extreme throws would no longer be likely.
Yeah.
The center of gravity has been moved forward.
Yeah.
What does a javelin weigh? Does it tell you that?
800 grams.
Is that all?
Yeah.
That's funny. So now,
Fiberglass, pole.
so it says here, what's the longest javelin throw in history? And it says 98.48.
Which is Jan Zelezny
Yes.
from the Czech Republic. Yes.
I'm impressed.
I'm all right with world records and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
no, that's all right. That's all right.
But then when they changed it, so Jan Zelezny came probably about 10 years later, and then he's dominated the sport. There's not a lot that have come. I think some guy threw 97 maybe, and he's like number 2 all time. But yeah,
So the German guy never threw in the newer category.
I don't believe so. Well, he may have. He may have. I could ask him.
It sounds like they just keep changing the rules because they didn't like old mate.
Yeah, well,
Not that they're like, hey, he's over
AFL.
100. We're going to make it harder now. It's like, well, now you've just ruined every record before that.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, I guess like weightlifting. I guess that's a bit different with weightlifting. But they change the weight categories of weightlifting all the time just to like stop people from doping and.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there? I mean, in all those like the sports you're talking about, you'd have to have marshals everywhere because there's running going on around the track and stuff, isn't there? And
Yeah, 100.
That's why old mate got nailed with a javelin.
like if you release the hammer, half a millisecond too early, it's going sideways.
Oh, yeah, but they have those fences.
Do they?
Well, it depends.
Or do they not?
It depends. So not really. So most tracks now are designed so like a world athletic standard track is designed that the pole vault and the long jump are on the outside of the track. So you like have your running track, and then on either side of it will be like your long jump and pole vault runway. So basically, the throwing field is just that. It's just grass. But like where I used to train in. Or where I used to train, or still do train, the pole vault and the long jump are on the inside. So I've got to train at a time that like the pole holders aren't training. So because like I've hit their pole vault shed, I've hit their pole vault mats and everything like that. And it's like the hammer I throw now as an open athlete, 7.25 kilos, like 16 pounds. So it's about the weight of a bowling ball. It's kind of how I put it down.
Pole vault, they would have been getting over castle walls. It's all relatable to the ancient arts.
100%. But mine's cooler, so.
But to be fair, I reckon the old way was cooler than what you've got now.
Yeah, 100%.
Actually throwing a...
Yours was probably like crushing wagons and chariots before they made it to the front or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's just guys that.
Good double.
Get that into you.
Yeah, well, that was right next to the mic, unless.
I know. I just had a look at... It maxed out. It went red for a bit. Obviously,
Really?
yeah. Too aggressive on that, obviously.
Yeah. Will that like crackle in people's ears on the podcast?
Yeah,
or?
probably, but it's not going to be any worse than us kicking the crap out of the table this whole podcast.
Wow. I'm on my second
It's
one,
like,
so.
yeah, I know, but Al did one before he adjusted, and then I moved my mic, and I was like, yeah, at this point, we should all just sit on beanbags. I reckon it's too much.
Just have like one of those padded rooms that like, like the 1930s mental patients are in.
Well, I mean, we could just have straitjackets also. We'd stop probably touching things.
It's appropriate for this podcast probably, but...
That's why none of us go to therapy, mate.
Correct.
You haven't been diagnosed. You can't have an issue.
Exactly. You just go to the gym or throw hammers and, yeah, you're sweet.
So before we move on, though, I want to know, have you seen any great bloopers where someone's thrown a hammer or a shot put or something like awkwardly sideways and just smash
you can
someone?
YouTube that all day, every day.
I'll send you a video of me just eating shit. Like,
you actually ate pieces of shit for breakfast?
oh, well,
Have you seen that movie? You're pretty young.
No, I am pretty young.
Oh, Shooter McGavin.
Oh, is that Happy Gilmore?
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen snippets of it.
Yeah.
I remember the guy has like a false arm or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that just had its 20th anniversary.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's almost older than me.
You know what we should do? We should do old people's movie reviews for young people so you can get back and watch them.
Yeah, 100%.
Classics.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon for things to go a bit wayward. And
Yeah, no, and I think that's why. Look, inherently, it can be quite dangerous. Like it's like a big metal ball flying through the air, and if that hits someone, it's going to cause a lot of damage. So, a lot of the time now, hammer throws move to the outside of the venue. Like in America, it's not on the track; it's completely outside of the venue, which some people don't like. Some people like. I don't mind it. I think it's all right. Like because people are actually just coming to watch the hammer throw. They're not just sitting at a track watching whatever. But yeah, there's plenty of times people stuff up, throw into cages, throw onto tracks, fall over. It's a technical sport, so you're kind of accounting for centimeters and millimeters, and people do tend to stuff up. So even the best of the best.
So you tested sort of all those different throwing sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tested all of them. So up until probably 17, 18, I was like quite a good shot putter and discus thrower. Like I went to the World Under 18 Championships in shot put as well. But the sport that I was really good at was hammer throw. Like, I don't know what it was. I kind of just took to it like a duck to water. Like, I had a couple of sessions and was throwing like, okay. And then, I'd probably started throwing hammer in maybe like January, let's say. And by April, I was kind of 13 throwing as far, if not further than like the best in the under 15s. So that was as an under an under 14 athlete. So yeah, it was. I just kept kind of progressing with it, and then it was just a bit of a natural progression. Like each day I went to training, distance just steadily improved. And I think like when you are young, you tend to like improve a lot more as like when you're an adult. So I was steadily improving, and by kind of like, so I think I started throwing hammer like. I think I started throwing hammer like December 2011. Don't quote me on that. That's just like a rough kind of guess. By December 2012, I'd thrown like the Australian under 15 record for under 15. So with a 4 kilo, I think I threw 71.35. And then the next year, I threw the Australian under 16 record, and then just kind of progressed through from there. So
were you blitzing records by like 50 meters, or because like for example, I don't know any school that did hammer throw.
No, they don't. It's not a sport. It's not a school kind of thing. It's not even a little athletics thing. It's very much. It's quite a niche kind of event. Like it's.
So like when you like had the record, was there literally only 2 other people in Australia that did it?
No. I wish I could say that, but I will tell you a funny story. We'll go back.
Breaking your own record every time.
Yeah. It's like if you dropped it, you would have got the record because no one else had done it.
Yeah, correct. Well, there are some places like like I said, it's not a very popular sport. So like at some like state championships, like for example, like the Tasmanian state championships, they've got like 3 people competing in it, and like there's probably places like sometimes where you could just drop a hammer and you'd win the state championship. But when you get to like the nationals, it kind of gets a bit more competitive.
Like obviously I wanted to give you shit, but like not to it's actually
if
you watch it, it's really hard.
Pardon?
It looks really hard to do. Like to spin around that much and then let it go in the right direction. Like I remember I was telling you that I was like, I want to come down and do a session with you, and because I was like, how hard could it really be? And then I was like, if I spun around 4 times and then tried to run from one end of the room to the other, it's like I'd be through a window or something.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's.
But it's not just pure strongman at all, is it? I mean, there's thousands of reps in timing and technique.
Yeah. Like they say that like your drilling is your most important like kind of aspect of hammer throwing. So turning just with a hammer, like, and just so people who are listening at home, I'm not actually talking about like a physical hammer, not like a big sledgehammer. I probably should have said that earlier. The hammer's like basically like if you think of like a shot put. If you think of that on a wire with a handle, that's what the hammer is, like in quote, end quote.
I remember he had him at work. Like I already seen his boot. I was like, this, if I, like, back when I was a cop, if I pulled that car over, I'd be like, there's some weird stuff going on here. Like it's either a weird kink or old mate's a hitman, a real old school one. Like it's like, is this a mace? What's going on here? Yeah, it was really interesting.
So you're drilling in your technique and actually being able to get those turns. I'm just trying to talk in this as most layman's way as possible, like getting those turns into like it's a 7-foot circle, so it's like 2.3 meters. I'm pretty sure getting 3 or 4 turns depending on what you do. Is actually it's quite difficult, like, and like that's why there's a lot of fouls in hammer throw, like where people step out of the ring and everything, because it's very like the margin for error is pretty low.
It says here most of the injuries are knee injuries.
Yes.
Is that which would make complete sense with the pivoting, like the spinning around and then having the weight as well?
Yeah, well, I guess you're putting a lot of pressure on your knees because you're in kind of like a like a quarter squat position basically, and you're moving very fast and you're making a lot of impact with the ground, like with your feet, and that's on concrete. So knee and back it tends to be the worst injuries in hammer throw.
I got some random events that have happened because I topped up like after you were talking about like, what's the worst that can happen sort of thing. It says here the Wyoming native, he's an Olympic silver medalist, almost killed himself at the night compound at a low-key demo the day before the 2012, whatever that thing is. He said the hammer that he threw got stuck on top of the net and seconds later fell to the ground and barely missed his head.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a pretty crappy way to have gone. Then you got another bloke here who threw a car window and injured his wife, and he gave up hammer throw for years. It's just crazy, mate. Well, just some random stuff. I was hit by an indoor weight throw once whilst jogging between.
Yeah, God.
A female thrower let it go too soon. I heard heads up, and it hit me right in the midsection, knocked me on my ass. I thought I was crushed, and I felt like I was screaming, but I couldn't even make a noise because it turns out I was fine. Like it didn't hit me in the head though.
Wow, yeah. It's actually funny you say that, like about like the cars, because where I used to train out the southeast suburbs of Melbourne, there was like this little, like there was the track, and then like I said, like there's like a separate area for hammer throw, and basically it was like this field basically with a cage there, and at about 75 meters, the cars could park there to go to like footy training and everything, because it was like a multi kind of complex area. So cars would park and people would go to footy training and everything. And basically when I was training there on a Saturday, I'd have to get there early and basically put this big chain up in front of this parking area and say like, and put like a sign up saying there's a hammer throwing area, because I was at that time, like I wasn't under 18. So under 18s throw a 5 kilo hammer. I was throwing a 5 kilo hammer like over 80 meters. So,
Wow.
I was pretty much like, had I like thrown there and there was a car there, I would have put it through a front windshield. So, yeah, it's yeah. There are some.
It's like playing cricket, local cricket. When you hit a 6,
yeah,
pretty much taking out someone's car window.
Exactly right. So,
do you Is it like doing a heavy deadlift? Do you load up on heavier ones in training as well? Like you swinging a 20 kilo hammer or something?
20 is probably a bit extreme.
Yeah.
It made it sound pretty bad now. You've just overcompensated. But no,
No, but like in baseball, how they've got they put weights on the end of the baseball bat.
Yeah,
and stuff
exactly.
like that. And people use like a heavier cricket bat and stuff when they game.
Basically, you will throw you could throw up to usually up to a 10 or an 11 kilo hammer, probably a 10 kilo hammer on like a full length wire. And then sometimes you might do like a 12 kilo hammer on a shorter length wire. And it's all based on like specific strength. So like a specific strength in like the position you're landing in. So, and it kind of, the heavy hammers will they'll expose your weaknesses, if that makes sense. So if for example, I'm not low enough on my left knee when I'm throwing the normal hammer. If I'm throwing with like a 9 kilo, that'll really expose it. So you really have to work hard. So yeah, you throw up to probably a 10 kilo hammer, and we tend to do that more in the winter months to build up your strength over the winter months. So when you come into the summer months, your strength's a lot better with having you moving that your competition weight a lot better. And then you also will throw lighter hammers for speed. So in any one session, I might throw up to like a 9 or 10 kilo hammer and maybe throw as low as a 5 kilo hammer, because a 5 kilo hammer, when you're feeling really strong, it feels super light, but you've actually got to, when you're moving fast, you need to be, it's hard to explain, but it's like you need to not try and push the fuck out of it and just land in those positions still whilst moving at like good speed. So you kind of, it varies what weights you throw and everything like that.
What are you looking at me like that for?
I don't know. You look like you're ready.
No, I'm just talking to Fedora.
Oh.
He just gets excited about Ned Weatherly.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's enjoying it. I'm excited about my little thing here that I got today. What do you reckon?
Oh,
an
it's
hour?
not-
I don't reckon it's going to be an hour.
I reckon that's
45.
half an hour.
Half an hour?
Did you look it up when you bought it, or?
Nah, it just said hourglass, so I assumed it was an hour. But turns out they've got bulk different timers. But we're at, it'll be in another minute, that'll be 30 minutes. So maybe it's 40. Anyway, we'll find out. Nobody knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just a random podcast intro.
Yeah, 100%.
So all these events, even if they're outside the track, when you're traveling, going all these championships, it combines all those track and field or athletic events sort of in the one championship?
Yeah. So for example, if you let's say the national or the Australian track and field or athletics championships, the hammer throw, the shot put, the discus, the javelin, but there'll also be like the 100 meters, the 200, 400 up to I think 5K is as far as they run on tracks, pole vault, high jump, long jump, the walk, which is everyone's blue ribbon event. But
How good was the walk? I used to love that.
well, I can't really talk too much shit because there's two events that are on either before every other event is on or after every other event is finished. And that's the walk and the hammer throw. So I think the hammer throw more for a safety thing, maybe the walk because it's not as aesthetically pleasing to watch because it takes forever. But
I remember at high school, the walk was like the one thing you would always, like when you were like, I can't be bobothered doing anything.
everyone would do the walk.
Yeah,
They do
like
those,
everyone's doing the walk.
walkathon things as well.
Yeah. And it was funny because you'd see people, because you do like the 1500, people wouldn't try that hard.
Yeah.
Then the walk, people were always trying to be like the dudes in the Olympics where they were
100%.
literally trying to walk the fastest they could because it
Doing
was
like
funny.
the Kath and Kim style walk.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is though.
But we had two dudes that were actually actively trying to do too well in the walk. Yeah. And they started training for it because they were taking the piss in year 10. And then by year 12, they were like, no, we're actually going to do this.
Yeah.
And they were fast. Yeah. And they were doing it legit. Yeah. I was just like, it's still not a real sport. No offense, walkers. Yeah.
Well, it's actually...
It's like going, hey, you know what? I'm going to do shooting, but you can't use your eyes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, you're not going to be as good as if you were running, you know? Like
it's like that shooting event where you don't actually shoot. It's like that air pistol or whatever it is.
Vasectomy.
That's what you talk about. No, it's like at the Olympics. It's like the 10-meter air pistol, and you don't shoot a bullet. Like,
yeah, but still, they shoot a slug or something, don't they?
Pardon?
Like, it's still like a little tiny thing.
It's an air pistol. It's not an actual pistol.
I mean, like it's not going to do anything to you, but it's still accurate.
If this gets out, I'm going to have so many people talking shit just coming forward.
Next time when you try and make the Olympic team, they're like, hey, remember when you said my sport wasn't real?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, joke's on you. Neither's yours.
Yeah. So what is the rivalry, or is there like class systems between the different sports? And
100%. Yeah, 100%. Oh, maybe not so much the sports. Like
hammer throw and shot put, do you guys fight each other and stuff all the time?
Absolutely not.
Like where's the rivalry?
Or is it like, sprinters against...
Yeah, it's
throwing sports,
it's like
and things
sprinters,
like
throwers sports. Look, I don't talk too much shit about my own people, but
why not?
Throwers tend to be the biggest whingers in athletics. Like they always like to play the poor me card. Like, oh, my event's not on at the right time. I didn't get enough. I
get that though, because you're not getting the same airtime. But that's because maybe you guys need to throw more shade, Ronda Rousey style, Conor McGregor. Make a name for yourselves.
Yeah, well,
that'll get them switched on.
Look, we've tried things, and like you can look it up.
Throwing stuff into the crowd. Or?
No. We've tried things like people rock up to like events like in like big pink bodysuits and like all this like outrageous stuff to try and get people to come and watch it. But
man, I've seen you at events like you have to pay attention when Wed's throwing something. Because he yells and screams.
Oh, yeah, I get up and about.
Some of my favourite stuff.
Yeah, but like it's actually fun. Like everyone's kind of like, oh, you surely you do that for attention. Like I've been doing that since I was like 13. Like when I first started the sport. Yeah, 100% for attention. No. The actual reason that I did it was like when I was shot putting. I like my favourite shot putter in the world. Like still to this day, he's probably my favourite thrower. His name's Reese Hoffer. He was like this guy from America, but like he used to compete in a mask and a cape. Like when he was throwing shot put.
Really?
Yeah, no shit. Like you can look it up. If you look up Reese Hoffer, and he used to compete as like the unknown thrower.
Really?
Yeah. But he like I remember
didn't do it very well if you know his name.
Well, I eventually like when he started going to the Olympics, he was like, oh, I actually have to like declare my name and everything like that. So, but he like I watched some video of him like when I was throwing shot put, like I'd go and throw shot put at training, and then I'd go home and watch like shot put videos all night. Like it was just like it was an obsession. Like I loved it. And I was watching this video of Reese Hoffer, and like he was like screaming and yelling when he threw and like won the world championships. I was like, that is what I'm going to do. That is going to make me a good thrower. So that's why I kind of scream and yell. But a lot of throwers do it. Like it's a very passionate event, I guess.
You got your own unique, way of doing it.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of people that are quiet about it, but
is that makes me think in tennis they do that as like a bit of an intimidation thing as well. Is there sort of that element to it, or you're psyching them out with?
I guess for some people maybe. Like I just think it's honestly like if you watch like a weightlifter like giving their absolute max attempt, or a powerlifter, or strongman, you tend to see them like yelling or exerting air, and I think that's kind of what it is. Now, look, I probably play on it a little bit too. Like mine is probably like 20% like the exertion because it's like a max effort thing. Like hammer throw is a very like it's max like single max effort kind of thing, and then you take a break and then it's another one. So I think it's like 20% that for me, 80% like celebrating afterwards and screaming and whatever. But I think that's more that, maybe not so much the intimidation thing. But I think even if you watch tennis, like when someone is like giving their max effort with like a really hard backhand or whatever it is, you do hear them exert themselves, and like they will grunt and yell and everything. So
yep.
Like even if you're at the gym or whatever and things get hard, sometimes you'll accidentally do it because you're trying real hard.
Yeah, it's like your final rep of like of a drop set or something like that. And you're like trying to get it up. It's just
and we're going to clip that.
That's
the reel. Trying to get it up.
Trying to get it up.
You're welcome, Ned Weatherly.
Yeah, thank you.
So what sort of programs...
Sorry, what's old mate's name?
It's Reese Hoffer, REESEHOFFA.
The amount of COVID stuff that's come up when I went masked and hammer throw was... I was like, oh, right roll.
Shot put though, shot put.
Oh, it's shot put, that'd be why.
So like, do you train through the
He's a
Victorian
unit.
Institute of Sports and Australian, or how do these sort of programs work when you're coming up through the ranks and the ages? Oh, yeah. It's like one of the wrestling masks.
Huh?
I wasn't lying.
No, I know. It's funny though because sorry, I'm just looking at a photo here. He's sitting here with a t-shirt on, a mask. He looks like I don't want to call him. He looks like a larger version of Rey Mysterio. But then you look at him in his USA outfit.
Yeah.
So I feel like he was good at the start, and then he actually turned into a weapon when he's in his USA outfit.
Yeah. Well, that's and he was actually quite short for like a shot putter as well. Like he was like 5'11", and like most of the guys like
Is that short? Is it for shot put?
Yeah. Like most of the guys that were winning like the world championships and everything were like 6'5" plus. Like, don't get me wrong, he's probably like 140 kilos, but But Al, to answer your question about like Victorian Institute of Sport and everything, I guess there's this like in terms of programming, not really. Like there's not a lot of support for hammer throwers and shot putters and everything. It's not like that sexy event that gets a lot of attention. I guess if you were the best of the best in the world, you'd be getting a lot of support from your federation. But like I'm like in terms of like coming up, like I won a bronze medal at the World Under 18 Championships, and I had to pay my own way to go there. Like, I forget his name, but the fellow that was on previously, like he was representing Australian Taekwondo, had to fund his own way. Like, there's a lot of sports you just
Dan Caruana.
There you go. So beg your pardon. Sorry, Dan. I was listening to that podcast on the way in, actually, trying to do some notes on the podcast. So
Yeah, nice.
yeah. I forgot a name.
He
so what I mean.
every time we mention him, he sends me another text message when it comes out because I'm like, are you still in the calendar, mate? I don't think you're trying. He gives me grief. He's like, I've been training, thanks. I'm actually in better shape than I was. I'm like, all right, send nudes.
Probably the misconception, though, I mean, with Dan and Taekwondo, not Tai Chi.
Tai Chi.
Like, I suppose that would have its own federations, but we would imagine that any Olympic pipeline sport would be sort of fully supported by those taxpayer programs, but it's not. It's more the sexy sports or the well-known athletes and that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I think in the last kind of like, let's say like the last 10 years, probably the most renowned athlete for like track and field in Australia would be Sally Pearson, like Olympic gold medalist. I think she broke the Olympic record, very close to the world record. I think at her peak, she was getting paid like maybe $40,000 by Athletics Australia. It's like that's, don't quote me on this, but I think that's below like the minimum wage, kind of the minimum salary. So now, look, obviously Sally gets like sponsorships and everything like that, so she'd be able to fund her own way. But for myself, who like, and I'm not saying that I'm like some world class athlete or anything like that. I think I'd say
We're the best in Australia.
Pardon?
You are the best in Australia.
Yeah.
Where?
Well, I missed this year's Australian Championships, but I was 3-time Australian champion. But
Yeah. So you're not. Well, I mean, my point is, you're not just the bloke down the road.
well, yeah, no, I guess that's where that imposter thing comes through. It's like
I mean, yeah, like three times winning the Australian champs, probably not a big deal.
I don't feel like that. Like I feel like just a bit of a normal bloke. Like I still smoke cigarettes. I still drink beers. Like I'm a bit of the.
I know. I've seen the Snapchat stories you sent me.
I'm a bit of the John McAvoy of hammer throw, I guess.
But you used to send me these things.
What's the golfer, the old school golfer?
Oh yeah. No.
Oh, is that who you were thinking?
No. That's,
I know who
is that tennis, John McAvoy?
Daly? Is it Daly?
McEnroe. Yeah, John Daly's
That's
who I'm
John
thinking
Daly,
of. Yeah.
yeah.
And sorry, I'm not comparing you, but he's a
No,
wild
please.
man who's
That
still
would be a compliment.
I think he beats most pros when he's drunk.
Yeah.
Like he's
Yeah,
crazy.
100%.
Yeah, well, because when he's sober, his hands are shaking. It's no good to him. I remember old Wed, he'd send me a snap at like 7 a.m. on a Saturday in his Speedos, just a reflection in the mirror with a VV, and it's like peak male fitness.
Might not have been 7 a.m. and it might not have been a VV, but it was definitely not Speedos. But,
If you read between the lines, though, that's what happened.
yeah, look, I may have been shirtless with a cigarette in my mouth.
And if you qualify, so essentially what do they just sort of throw you a couple of tracksuits and whatever you compete in, and that's kind of it, you for Australia?
As a junior athlete, they didn't even throw you a tracksuit. You're paying for your uniform as well. So
Wow.
yeah,
It's just like you ring up the school uniform store and order one Victorian tracksuit or something.
Well, basically what happened was like, so when I qualified, so the Youth Olympics was a little bit different because that was funded by the AOC. So that like the Australian Olympic Committee, for those listening at home, they do have like a lot of taxpayer funded money and everything. So they kind of funded that. So I didn't have to pay a cent for that, which was unreal. That was like my first experience and that was really cool. But then like the world, time's out or?
Yeah, but I didn't see what time it was.
No.
But it's definitely under an hour.
And it's not a round number either.
Yeah, I reckon it's.
Sorry, the hourglass is emptied.
Yeah, I reckon it's like 38 minutes.
Podcast prop.
This is the low light of the podcast for you guys.
We've had a few of them across along the journey.
Some haven't made it to air, so will this one make it to air? I don't know. But then like when it came to Athletics Australia for like the World Under 18 Championships, that was like, I think it was like, yeah, you made it. Please pay us $6,000. So it was like, and look, I was probably very blessed that my parents were well off enough that they were able just to pay for it. Like, and it wasn't really much of a thought for them. But there were some people that were like really good athletes that were struggling to get that money together to go, and they had to rely on borrowing money from families, you know, fundraisers, all of those kind of things. Which, you know, I think that's a big part of why we don't see Australia as like this like beacon of, or this peak of like track and field, is because everything's self-funded, and a lot of the athletes, like especially in sprinting events, like they're winning, you know, Australian championships, going overseas and everything, and then the AFL or the NRL is like, oh hey, we'll put you in this development program where you might not even play, and we'll give you $50,000 for it. So I think I know what like a lot of people would choose that. Unluckily for me, the AFLs haven't called me up and want me to play for them. But
also, if you were American with the results you'd having, you'd probably be on a full college scholarship or something as well, would you?
Yeah, 100%. So I did get offered college scholarships. I got offered to go to UCLA, University of Oregon, NYU, I'm pretty sure, University of Miami. Like I had a lot of really good college scholarship offers, but I'm not an academic person. I don't pretend to be. So
don't they just let you get 100% on it? Isn't that the whole deal?
They just like they put someone else. It's like this is Ned Weatherly on the doing the exam.
Is that only for star quarterbacks?
Yeah, pretty much. But I think in America, like the NCAA is just another world. Like it's a different beast. And like you could get a fully funded scholarship, and they will nurture that talent over there. But here in Australia, it's not that kind of thing. So I think a lot of the people who are doing athletics or track and field are doing it for the love of it, and they're self-funding themselves. Like I, won 3 Australian championships in a row, humble brag, but I self-funded everything. Like I drove up to one, it was in Sydney the year, and I drove up there and slept in like a hostel. And
so I remember when you were talking to me about that, you're like, you won and you still lost money.
Oh, no. So
wasn't that?
Yeah,
that was recently.
It wasn't the Australian Championships. So, they have these like track classic meets. So the track classic meets are like, they're kind of like your lead up to the national championships. They're like all these like they're like they'll be like the Brisbane Track Classic or the Adelaide Track Classic or the Hunter Track Classic, wherever it is, and there's prize money for it. So it's like a little incentive to go. So I think I won against 2 Japanese competitors, another Australian competitor, and a guy from New Zealand, I'm pretty sure. And these 2 Japanese guys, like on paper, were a lot better than me, but I still won on the day, which was like, that was a big confidence boost for me. And I think I won $350. But by the time I flew up there, got accommodation, all of that, I ended up like losing $150. So it was like, yes. But it's nice that Athletics Australia are trying to do something like that, but yeah, I think it's a bit lost on them that like $350. Like maybe you could have just paid for my flights to come up. Like,
yeah, I mean they've got to get the cash from somewhere as well, though.
Oh, 100%. And like the Australian Sports Commission will allocate like a certain amount of funding to each sport each year for these kind of amateur sports. Like the AFL, it's like they'll put it into the AFL, but like into like development programs for the AFL. But it's like swimming's like a big one. I think hockey's a big one, but track and field still isn't that big. So you're not getting a lot of money from
So if people are getting into that, I mean, it's got to be a real passion thing. Otherwise, like you said, they might choose to veer off to other sports. And
100%. So sorry, I think I'm being
cushion is being implemented. Three fouls, 3 strikes.
3 fouls, I'm out. My notebook's been taken away from me too. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely like it's definitely a passion thing. Like I give the typical example, like in my age group, like for the under 17 Australian Championships, like where I won the hammer throw, Andrew McGrath won the 400 meter hurdles, and Andrew McGrath was the number 1 draft pick in the 2017 draft for the AFL. So I think, I've stuck with athletics as my passion. I'm also not a great AFL player, but like I don't begrudge Andrew. Like Andrew probably could have been a national champion or, Olympian in 400 meter hurdles, but when he's getting paid $400,000 plus a year to kick a footy around, I know what I'd be picking. But it's definitely a passion thing. You're right.
And you see the boys when they're doing like the AFL, they do the sprint. And it's like they are quick dudes.
Oh,
and
100%.
you're like, I wonder how many of them could have been, track and field experts at certain things. But if there's no money in it.
Yeah, exactly right. It's and that's the thing. And it's,
I wonder if what do you reckon they could do to make it, more exciting? Like, it's funny because fights do so well because there's so much trash talk.
Yeah.
It's one event, but there's like 3 months of trash talk, and it's
a stadium sport. So, yeah, like why isn't there an MCG of like athletics? And I mean, at the Olympics,
well, it's
I
blue
think
ribbon event, I reckon, at the Olympics. Did
they use the MCG for the Com Games? I remember the marathon finishing there.
2006 Com Games was at the MCG, yeah.
So did they turn that into athletics?
Yeah, they decked it out as an athletics track. On the Gold Coast at the Commonwealth Games in 2018, that was at Carrara Stadium. Anyway, it's where Gold Coast play the Metricon. Metricon? I don't know. But anyway, it was where Gold Coast play their AFL football. So it is a stadium event, you're right. But I think if you were to have the national
just
championship,
doesn't have the branding or the sales behind it.
Nah, not really. It's like you were to have the Australian Track and Field Championships, and this is not a slight on athletics. It's a great sport, and it'd be great. Like if we had punters watching it, they would love it, but it's just not that popular. Like, and if we would have it at the MCG, the Australian Championships, it would be embarrassing. Like it would be, there would not be a lot
look
of people
worse with
there.
empty seats.
Yeah, 100%. And there would be. I'm not joking. There'd probably be. How big is the MCG? Like 95,000 capacity.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd have like 93,000 seats empty at the Australian Championships. Like it just doesn't have that have that draw. But if it was the Commonwealth Games, it would be packed out.
I think the best atmosphere and applause I've ever seen at MCG, and I won't remember this correctly, but the Com Games, I think there was an Australian female that came into the stadium maybe second in the marathon and was catching up the leader. And I've never heard anything like it. And I don't know, been to probably more than 100 events in the MCG.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. But I suppose everybody was rooting for her in that
100%.
instance. So it was incredible.
I'm pretty sure that was Karen McCann was her name. And I remember that as a kid watching that. And that's like when I was like getting into athletics, I was like, this is really cool. And little did I know I was actually going to be like compete in it. But yeah, Karen McCann, I'm pretty sure sadly she died of cancer a couple of years ago. But that I do remember that. Like she was maybe second or third and she like stormed home to win or get a medal or something like that. And it was, and you're right.
That was that instance too where, I don't know, she was just running superhuman because she had 95,000 people lifting her up. It was crazy.
100%. Yeah. There's like this kind of like,
the adrenaline that would have absolutely smashed her as soon as she came in there and everyone lost it.
I think too, because, it would have been on the screen. So the commentators are saying, she's almost in. And then the second you see her come in, it just was like the roof just lifted.
100%. 100%. And that was, that's a really good moment.
She's done well. She's done well to deal with that though. Because I reckon if I came in that many, I'd
collapse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'd just, overwhelm. Nah, that's me done.
She probably would have won the 100-meter sprint over the last
and the hammer.
or the 400-meter.
And the hammer throw.
Well, it is interesting though. Like it's amazing how a big crowd can like really G you up. And look, I remember I went to the World Under 18 Championships and they were in Cali in Colombia. And it was at like a huge stadium. It was so impressive. And it was not sold out by any means, but I reckon there was probably 20,000 people there, which for me, like competing at the Victorian Championships at like Albert Park when there was like maybe 80 people there, to come into 20,000 people like roaring, like absolutely roaring for a World Under 18 Championship.
Where was this at?
In Colombia, in Cali.
Right. So Dan Caruana's massive in Argentina.
Yeah.
You're massive in Colombia?
Yeah.
Jeez, we've got some world.
South America's all the...
We've got some amazing world stars on here.
Yeah, shout out to Colombia.
Shout out to Colombia.
How much that G'd me up and like really got the best out of me. And I didn't throw like a PB there or anything like that, but I definitely threw better than I thought I was going to throw there. And how much that crowd pumps you up is amazing. So
you got like Steve Hooker in high jump, for example. Like people love Steve.
pole vault, but
He did high jump.
pardon?
He also did high jump.
Yeah, but
I literally competed with him in high school. So shut up.
but what is he known for? The pole vault or the high jump?
Did he? I thought he was a high jumper as well.
No, he's a pole vaulter. Olympic gold medalist in the pole vault.
So he
2008.
But he's obviously well known, media loved him,
100%.
and that sort of stuff. Is that just because he was a gold medal winner though?
Yeah.
Because his sport's really short as well.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, like the marathon and stuff, people get behind it. There's a story. They're watching it for hours. Like you've developed a Kieran Perkins, like that thing. You know, like he's swimming for
But is
ages.
that even like you say Kieran Perkins, and I think of like I don't know cereal sanitarium or something like that. Is that because they got sponsors that put them out there a lot more as well?
Yeah, well, it's like I think like
Sponsors probably come second though.
I don't know if you remember 2006. Now I was 8 years old in 2006, so. But I know everyone whenever I mentioned
I was a
shot.
soldier by that stage, man. Just a
what was
just
that?
a mad warrior by then. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's cool.
Anyway,
I'm glad you feel that way. But like, I think if you look back at 2006, like when people mention when I mentioned shot put and discus to the average Australian, they'll go like, oh yeah, Scott Martin, who was actually he was my old shot put and discus coach. He was like in that ad in the 2006 Commonwealth Games, like the ballet dancer that like was a discus thrower. I don't know if you remember that, but that was quite a well-known ad. So you're right, like your names get mentioned, and it's either you're a gold medalist, you're a sponsored athlete. Oh, sorry, you're in some commercial in Australia around that time, or you win it. There's like some feel good story around you around that time. Otherwise, you're not really known. So
just do a revival, do a rip off of the ballet ad again, and
we'll
get you. Who can we get? We'll start a user generated content hammer throw in a ballet.
Yeah,
tutu. I'm getting all the things wrong here.
Into Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's you know, I wonder because Steve's, you know, like pole vault and high jump and shot put and whatever, like they're all real short, sharp ones. And it's like, I just wonder, how do you get, like, how would you increase people caring about shot put and stuff? Like, I just feel like the event's so short that it's like, oh yeah, old mate did well, he threw this much.
Yeah. Well, but I think that's the interpretation you have. It's actually quite a long event. Like the Olympic, like it will go for probably an hour, like the Olympic hammer throw or something like that. So I think
yeah, but it's one after another.
Yeah, exactly.
Your actual part of it's about 5 seconds.
Yeah, well, my actual part might be like 2 minutes of like actual throwing in it. But
yeah,
I think that it's short and sharp because it just shows them. But look, I don't know, maybe.
But I'm not going to sit there and watch you warm up for 30 minutes beforehand.
No,
you know?
exactly.
Like,
and that's the average viewer. And that's why the hammer throw doesn't get the attention that it's a great event. But I think my personal opinion is don't show 5 rounds of it. It's a 6-round event. Show the last round because that's the exciting round because that's when everything's happening. Like that's that's my interpretation.
Well, because I just wonder if there's, you know, because you look at the strongman, right? That like each event is short, but there's multiple events that they're doing. Whereas because you're doing shot put, you're like, yep, it's done, and then you sit down. You know, like which is obviously the sport.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, how do you bring more attention to a sport that literally only lasts seconds for the actual event?
Yeah.
It's sort of, yeah.
I think, and this...
I'm sure there's people with better know more than we do about it, trying to fix this problem. But
to be honest, like the realist in me is just, it's not going to have that attention. And I think I just need to accept that. And like, it's cool to watch. And like, it's my kind of thing is like, if I ever do make a Commonwealth Games or an Olympics, like I just like Shazza from bloody Rockhampton to be sitting down watching me throw one time and go, oh, that's pretty interesting. And maybe look me up on Google. That's like the perfect thing. It's not a sport that's going to be popular. And that's just the it's not exciting like the 100 meters. It is, but it's a long kind of event, and it's hard to watch and actually follow, unlike the 100 meters or the 1500 meters or whatever. So
you can literally see the person against each other on that.
Yeah.
But so at least that's like a competition where you're watching them against each other.
Exactly. But it's like strongman. Like I feel like people who watch strongman are people who do strongman. Like there will be like there will be a core group of people who like will watch anything and they'll like put it on and go like, oh, that's really impressive. But I think for the most part, it's like Olympic weightlifting or powerlifting. I feel like the people who watch like the international weightlifting or powerlifting or hammer throw or discus or Highland Games or whatever it is are the people that do it.
I think strongman's a little bit different too though, because they do multiple events.
Yeah, true.
So it's like if you did shot put, hammer throw, javelin, like the heptathlon and stuff, you know, like that's almost.
Well, yeah, like the decathlon and the heptathlon. Yeah, it's but then that goes over multiple days.
That's what I mean, because they're doing different sports.
Yeah, true.
That'd be interesting. If you had like I wonder if they could do that where they had shot put, javelin.
They do it in masters. So like masters athletics is for people who don't know at home. It's like people who are basically 40 plus.
Yeah, righto.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's what it is. That's where it starts pretty much. I actually think it starts 30 plus now, which is anyway. They do the throws pentathlon, which is like the shot put, discus, hammer throw, javelin, and the weight throw, which is like a short hammer throw, essentially. That's a lot heavier. And then it's just like a point system, and whoever gets there gets to the end.
That's like with CrossFit as well, where they have, like you might be amazing at deadlifts, but you're not great at running, and you're doing that like that. And that's what I like about strongman is there's ones where they're like, oh, Barry's going to be the best at this, you know, like he can throw a kick better than any other dude, and then old Ned Weatherly can throw a hammer better than any other dude, and whatever, and like those are interesting.
Yeah,
that way it'd be interesting if you had like shot put 100-meter sprint, like discus, and like a 100-meter.
Do you want to see me throw up on a track or something like that?
And then like a 400-meter run, or a 400-meter swim.
Yeah, well,
like hammer throw suicides, you got to go back and forth to each end.
Yeah, I remember seeing this
first to do 10, did you 10 see that? Throws or something.
They had a CrossFit one where you had to swim 50 meters, get out, and do like burpee pull up.
Oh yeah.
I was like, that is brutal. Yeah. That was the worst thing I've seen. I was not interested in doing that at all. But it was interesting because you were like, well, people are doing burpee muscle ups or whatever it was that they were doing. And like people that kill that, and it's just like, well, we can't swim. Yeah. And you'd see old mate swim past him, get out, choke on the next part, get out, swim and like choke. It was amazing. But that'd be, the only way I could see shot put getting more is if you get more airtime. Because even sponsors wise, where you're like, sure, old Ben Netherly spun around for 7 seconds. It's like I can barely see it anyway because you're spinning. And then, it's like, what am I getting from my sponsorship?
But like I don't know. It's look, I think. I had that idea of like, oh, how can we bring more people to watch this event and everything? Like, and I was like very optimistic about doing that. But I think as I've gotten older, I've become more realistic about that people probably aren't going to watch it. But that doesn't really matter to me that people aren't going to watch it. Like I said, maybe Shazza in Rockhampton at the 2032 Olympics might watch me and go, oh, that's pretty cool. That'd be sick. But I don't do it for that. I just do it because I love it and I'm good at it. And
that's what we want from our athletes. But like as a sponsorship and interest here, like you look at Australian Idol, there's probably better singers, than a lot of them. But they're
You mentioned Australian Idol.
As soon as I said that, I was like, here we go.
But, can I ask?
Yeah, go on.
This is my podcast now for 20 seconds. Yeah. What's the Australian Idol story? Did you audition?
Yeah, I went there. I auditioned. When was it? Like 2004?
Yeah. Was that the Matt Corby one?
Does it count?
No.
Before you enter the building?
Corby, but Corby's also like 8 years after me.
Oh, really?
No, it was like Guy Sebastian, I think.
Right.
It's like one of the first ones.
Yeah,
like
when
Shannon
he robbed
Nolan
Shannon Nolan.
Oh, well. I mean,
this podcast has gone way left instead of it here.
Yeah.
What did you sing?
It was a Jet song, but I can't even remember what it is. I'd have to look it up.
Are you going to be my girl?
No, it wasn't that.
Did you make it into the building, or did you get cut in like the
outside audition? It was like the first, they do like a pre-audition before you do the audition.
Yeah, right.
But it's funny though because they ask you about like your backstory and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what that's where I was going with it was that like if they were like, oh, this is Ned, he's doing this because of this and he's doing this because of that, and like that people then have an interest in you as a person.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if the media wanted to, they could do backstories.
100%.
And then because once you have faith in that person, now it's like now you're with them on their journey.
Well, it's like, and I completely forget his name, but like a lot of Australians got behind that marathon runner at the Commonwealth Games because he was like an electrician and he works full time, and everyone was like, because Aussies don't like elite sportsmen, they like the true blue like Aussie cop,
they want Shannon Noll. They want Shannon Noll to win.
Yeah, correct. They don't want Guy Sebastian. They want Shannon Noll. But
Guy Sebastian, the music teacher, no one cares. But
that's a perfect example. Is they did a story on him, it was maybe like a 3-minute story on on Channel 7 before the Commonwealth Games, and everyone got behind him. Like they loved him. And I think that even for example, like if you watch like Survivor or Dancing with the Stars or something like that, there's always like some backstory about like the person that's competing, and maybe that's the way that they get more people interested. And that you might be onto something there, Bert.
Yeah. Did you there was on the footy show they had the Hammerheads, I think it was. Again, this is before your time, Ned. They had it was like just an average footy team.
Yeah.
I don't even think they were the seniors.
Yeah.
But it was funny because they were I went through and they were like, old mate, he'd injured himself at work because he fell off a ladder and this and that. Like all the just normal people stuff.
Yeah.
And then they'd watch it and then you'd go and watch their game. And it was obviously like the skills weren't amazing, whatever. And then at halftime, there's obviously the 3 different blokes that think they're Ron Barassi just yelling and screaming and carrying on. But it was funny because it was so much easier to relate to.
Yeah, 100%.
Than watching like the actual footy where you're like, oh yeah, they're elite players. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. But and then afterwards they're having beers in the shower and they're doing whatever else. And then Bazza and Shane don't get along, and it was hilarious. I loved it. It was just the most like I'll watch that more. I looked forward to watching them and getting updates from them more than I cared about the actual games on the weekend. Like it was amazing. But I think if you actually had if you could get around actual like athletes and stuff, and the fact that especially ones that work 9 to 5, they're doing it in their own time, they're doing whatever. I think people would have a lot more appreciation for these sports where people don't get paid.
Oh, 100%. Because I think the Aussie thing is, and it's like that tall poppy syndrome. I'll get back to that later, but I think the Aussies especially, they love that coming from behind story or that relatable story. Like
that's another reel.
Pardon?
No, don't worry about it.
Coming from behind. Oh wow! Oh, you've got me twice now.
It's bloody SJ's books, mate.
That's
got to get them off the table.
I've started reading them, so it's. I was getting pretty hot reading these on the way in. No, but you're right. Like, if there is some story behind like how they got there, and if they are working a 9 to 5, or they're a uni student that's putting hours and hours in, will then go on to study and everything. People love that kind of stuff because people like the hard work aspect, and actually hearing about the hard work that someone has.
I think they also love the fact that they're like the bloke that they're working with. Like if they're both over at the, they're building a house together or doing whatever else it is, and old mate's doing the same work as you, and he's still also trying to be a number one.
Yeah,
it's a very relatable sort of scenario,
or a commendable kind of thing. It's like, oh, cool, like good on you.
Yeah, get around him.
Yeah.
So what's got to happen for Shazza to see you at the Olympics?
Oh, look,
he's got to get to the Olympics.
I've got to get to the Olympics.
Well, you've referenced it twice, so there's obviously the dream's still alive.
Do you want to take a time out and then come back?
Yeah.
Right on. Let's have a toilet break, gang, and we'll
be back for the Olympic dream.
Right on. I'll do a bit of this. Oh no, I'm not going to do that because we've got a new one. Don't worry about it. But I do love this. I don't care. I'm playing it.
You just blue balled me with that outro.
Yeah. Right on. We'll be back.
Just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? Just do it. Simple.